session, and the topic for the session is Revenue Optimization Challenges for Non-Branded Hotel. This session is going to be moderated by Mr. Devdatta Banerjee, Rev Peak, New Delhi, and the speakers on this session are Mr. Thomas E. Ramapuram, Director Sales, Evolve Back Resorts, Mr. Nikhil Sharma, Vaidam Group, RD Eurasia. May I request all the people to please stay back for our session. Ladies and gentlemen, tea and refreshments will be served after this session. May I invite on stage our moderators and the panelists, Mr. Nikhil Sharma, Vaidam Group, RD Eurasia, Mr. Abhinash Mangani, Managing Director, ITC Welcome Heritage, Mr. Pradeep, Co-Founder, Happy Retreats, Mr. Dilip Jayan Vasudev, Director Sales, Simplotel.
It is very exciting. I hope some people come back. But we have a very distinguished set of people here. We have Nikhil, who we've studied together in college, lived together in hostel, and some of the things we cannot discuss in public. Yep. Hello? Hello? Yeah, okay, thank you. And we have my old friend Abhinash. So Nikhil, why don't you say a few words about yourself, and then we move on to the topic at large.
Dev, thank you. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here at SIHRA. I work with Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. Wyndham has 9,000 hotels globally, 24 brands, 56 hotels in the country. Ramada is our hero brand in the country. We have a total of 9 brands that are currently present. Actually 8. We are introducing the 9th brand in the next 2 weeks, so that's really it.
Good evening. I know ours is the last session, so we'll try and make it a little more lively. My name is Abhinash. I run a company called Welcome Heritage. We're part of the ITC Hotels group. We have 40 hotels in the country, and we primarily focus on experiential leisure.
Hi, good evening everyone. So my name is Pradeep, and we run a brand called Happy Retreats, which is specialized in celebration getaways. So primarily our area of focus is into wedding destinations and conceptual leisure resorts. So right now we are operating 2 venues in Bangalore and in the verge of expansion by 4 venues in the next 2 years. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Thomas. I'm the Director for Sales at Evolve Back Resorts here in Karnataka itself. We have 3 properties in Karnataka at Coorg, Kabini, and Hampi, and we acquired our first international property in Africa in Botswana. We have a couple of properties in the pipeline as well in Madhya Pradesh and in Bhutan as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Dilip. I'm the Director Sales for Simplotel. We're a technology company, and we basically drive direct sales to hotels by building websites and booking engines. Many of you here are already working with us or will be working with us soon. So thank you.
Wonderful. So the way we thought we'll go through with this discussion, I hope I'm audible back there as well. Yep, okay. So there are a few slides, and then I'd like our panelists to, kind of talk to all of us about what they feel about these topics, okay? So moving forward, just about the very basics of revenue management is about selling the right room to the right people for the right price, etc., right? And you can all feel free, okay? So, the point about prime revenue management, as we all know it, is rooms, right? Then when you add on other revenues, then you start looking at total revenue management. Then when you bring in the cost element of it, that is when you talk about total profit management. So what I'd like to first ask Nikhil, maybe, is that at which stage of revenue management are you guys at?
So, Dave, you know this better. You work with multiple international organizations. At 9,000 hotels, 24 brands, 95 countries, the revenue management stage is fairly advanced. It's a paid service for our hotels. So we are right up there from that perspective, and happy to talk more about OTA insights and the other services that we offer, but we'll keep that for a later discussion as we progress in
Sure.
this conversation.
So, Abhinash, maybe for your hotel, if one way to look at it, how much, importance do you give to cost of distribution? Is that something that you discuss on a daily, regular basis?
I think the most critical part of your distribution strategy is cost of acquisition of business.
So that part is the cost of acquisition of business, right? We are talking about, let's say, how much commission you end up paying to a booking.com.
Absolutely.
So that gets discussed as a part of.
A lot of time is spent in trying to, or rather has been spent in negotiating with the OTAs because
Okay.
to reduce the cost of acquisition.
Fair enough. So this brings me to our friend from Simplotel. How does this impact you when you work with your hotels, with the websites that you develop for hotels? How much of this comes into discussion about how can you drive direct business? And we'll come back to direct business once again later on in the slides.
Thanks, Dave. I think a majority of times that when we look at total business, we look at different segments from where business is derived, right? OTAs today give us immense discoverability. So even if your property is not well known, but just having your listing on an OTA gives you that kind of leverage, that kind of visibility. But you should also keep in mind the cost of doing these kind of business, right? So an OTA would charge you anything between 15 to 30% in terms of commission for getting that kind of business. Keeping that in mind, it is very important that a brand website, a booking engine, to ensure that the customers always come back to you, that becomes an extremely important point. So that's
Thank you. So, some of the typical problems that hotels look at, business mix, static discounts, rate integrity, revenue management and distribution, right? Inventory management and distribution. So let's start off with one problem at a time, which is how important is optimizing your business mix? So why don't we hear from the gentleman from Evolve Back Hospitality?
Yes, thank you. We have like a leisure property like us, quite different from Wyndham and
Sure.
ITC, which has 9,000 properties. We only have 5 properties, but we operate at ADRs of upwards to 40 to 50,000 rupees a night.
And that makes it even more critical.
Yes, so we try not to, though we're very tech focused, we try not to be overly tech involved. So our business, strategy is kind of static. We announce rates at the beginning of the year. We don't change it for the entire year. So in general jargon, that's static pricing. But we know exactly where our peaks and lows are. And then we know Diwali is going to be high, so we know our prices are high there. So we don't really, as a 3 property chain, we don't employ expensive kind of revenue management things because we are very different from the other properties. So that gives us our kind of optimal channel mix between direct versus, online versus OTA versus the offline travel agents.
Sure. Yep. Some thoughts?
So first, I would like to understand your question in detail before answering, right? Because my friend has already answered that. We are in the leisure segment, right?
Sure.
So when it comes to the revenue source, right, revenue management as a whole, revenue optimization. So we are an upcoming brand, and definitely we have a different perspective towards how do we optimize our revenues, right? Firstly, what we have done is we have done an introspection about how many rooms do we have, how many banquets do we have, and what are the list of products that we have to sell, right? And then what is the packaging that we can do around it, right? It's not just a room revenue, it's not just an F&B revenue. So the way we got some flexibility to do all these things is like the kind of packaging that we have done.
So you're aiming for the total share of the customer wallet.
Exactly. So that is the approach that we have taken.
Very
And
interesting.
we have divided our customer segments into weddings, private socials, corporates, leisures, and other segment categories, right? When we defined our customers, the marketing went very easy, and we were able to address the pain points of the right customers at the right time. When we did that, that changed the entire dynamics for us, right? When we packaged it as a whole, the overall revenue dynamics have changed completely. And a leisure property like ours, we are always at 65 to 70% occupancy throughout the year. And this is something which I would like to share in the further conversations as well.
Wonderful. So all I'm trying to bring to light through this slide and through the discussions with our colleagues here is that At the end of the day, there is no right solution. But the point is there is a solution which is unique to you and you need to focus on that. So then that brings us to, do we work with static discounting or do we work with dynamic discounting? This perhaps has another element to it. Do we end up giving static prices to some of our partners? So I'd like to hear some thoughts from Mr. Mangani, who has been on both sides of the table, so to speak, one at the, the branded segment of things, the now currently with a more, boutique, unique kind of offering with Welcome Hotels. So what are your thoughts about it? In terms of static rates, static discounting versus dynamic rates, dynamic discounting.
So, traditionally, I would say that dynamic rates applied only to the retail segment in the first phase of changes, and every hotel company gave static rates to corporates, travel companies. MICE and wedding always negotiated, didn't really matter so much. But I think COVID has changed all. With the advent of COVID in the last couple of years, there are very limited static rates, if any. Because
so are corporates ready to accept dynamic rates?
So now what has happened is what we have done in our organization, and I'm sure many others are doing similarly, is that you're keeping your bar as your so-called rack, and pegging the rates of various people as per your graph I saw some time back.
These are just randomly pulled out numbers. Yeah. They're not meant to provide any direction, so to speak. So anybody who's taking a picture on their cell phone, this is probably going to end your career.
In the end, pricing is what you're able to glean from your customer. So you need to decide what commission structures or discount levels you want to give to your respective segments. If you're able to get those segments, then that's what works. But yeah, as a graded system, your bar is your 100% of your yield. Most agencies and corporates will get 10% as a discount. The ones who give you more business, you may want to negotiate a little bit more, will get 15%. Bulk producers will get 25%, and that's really how it goes.
Nikhil, so now here's a controversial question for you. Would you think that we should give a higher discount to somebody who produces more discount, and therefore, by default, you will always keep him at a better position in life, as against to say that here's a level playing ground, even if you're a smaller player, I am going to provide you a level playing ground to give you the chance to grow up. What do you think is the right answer?
So Dave,
take his picture, he's answering, I'm only asking.
So Dave, it actually feeds into what you just asked, Abhilash. It's important to understand where the world is moving, and you kind of allude to the fact the reality is corporates are moving towards dynamic globally, and you will see that change. We're seeing the change within the country, and I'll give you an example, and that actually answers what you just asked. Is we launched a program called Wyndham Easy Book, which was aimed at the SMEs. Now, with a limited band strength of the sales team, there is only so much of SMEs that you can cater to and give static rates. It's an online rate, it's linked to the bar, it's a discount off percentage, it's linked to the number of room nights that you produce. So the higher the room nights you produce, the better the percentage of discount on the bar. Obviously, it's not a large off the bar, but it's incremental. So, and I would say in the last 2 years, we've seen phenomenal success on this, and we've seen a lot of SMEs actually cling on to the bar discounted rate. Are larger corporates moving that direction? Yes. Are they slower? Yes. So that's the long and short of it, but that's exactly where we are moving now as an industry.
So, like I say, with any change, there will be resistance. The question is, as leaders, are you ready to take up that challenge to make or convince your customers that this is the way forward? So moving forward, this was, again, the question about static rates. And the big question that I have to, especially the two gentlemen from the resorts, how important is it for your big partners within your scheme of things? I'm sure you have certain. How important is it for them to have static rates versus how many of them are open to dynamic rates, which would potentially give them a better saving at some point of the year?
Yes, so like I was just saying before, for us as a leisure, kind of property, some of our biggest producers are the offline travel agents, the people who don't have an online booking system. They still go to them, talk to them, and plan a holiday. And I think they find it very difficult to operate with dynamic rates. That's just been our experience, because they have a price and they know how much of the website that is, and they're able to confidently quote that to their customers. Now, if that keeps changing, they suddenly don't know if the price they've given to their customers are competitive or not. So for us, it's important to have a static rate, but it's not a similar rate for the whole year. Of course, we know seasons and off seasons, so we have the higher prices during Christmas and Diwali, we have the lower prices during monsoon, but that's decided in the beginning of the year, and like we make our peace with it. We do not change it after that, unless drastically there's a pandemic or something, but more often than not we keep it static like that. That's important for our big partners.
Tell me something on a lighter note. Have you ever considered advertising your resorts as a place to get fresh air when pollution levels are what it is in Delhi?
Yeah, of course. That's our base. That's our USP.
Okay. So moving forward. Now, the big question that I guess many of you face is this whole problem of rate integrity, price parity, what have you. My question, and perhaps Nikhil and Avinash and my friend from Simple Hotel can also add on to this, is how important is parity? What part of your, if you one would say, what percentage of your daily life gets ruined because of this?
Firstly, it's paramount. It's the holy grail, and it doesn't, if there's no rate parity, you can forget about conversion on your website, on your booking channels, and so on and so forth. So there's no two ways about that, Dave. And as far as how much time does the revenue management team actually spend on this? A lot. Fortunately, we've had enough and more tools, and we use OTA Insight as an example, and it keeps blinging the rate parity. Instead of OTAs coming and telling us, listen, your hotels are out of rate parity, we have a, let me just say, we have the foresight today to go back to the hotels and say, we don't have rate parity on these dates, on these channels, please correct. And that's an ongoing, constant work at the moment.
So there's not much I can add to what Nikhil said, except from a market or a branding standpoint, a rate parity literally is a brand attribute. People know that a professionally managed brand will ensure that, the point that he raised earlier, that everybody has an equal chance to sell because the rate is the same across public channels. And that's the key issue in rate parity. So it really is rate integrity that what people look for. Otherwise, customers, consumers, they lose respect for the brand because they're not sure. Okay, this brand is not managing pricing, and some people are getting lower rates than others. Then they begin to haggle. And the whole objective of rate parity is to ensure that once the price is set, as he mentioned, after that, customers will book depending on their ability to pay and not look for new agents who have got a lower rate. So that's really the point.
Just harping on the same point, right? So I think with smaller properties, with non-branded properties, it is extremely important that rate parity is maintained. And OTA has deep pockets. They have marketing budgets that they utilize for undercutting and ensuring that they drive traffic away from the direct website to their own website. A lot of times you'll also notice that once you go onto the OTA website, the actual rate is still the same. But now that traffic is diverted to that OTA.
This is a brilliant point that you've raised. And in fact, I was very surprised that not a single hotelier asked this question to the Google gentleman who put up his slides on the pricing. Why does this happen? Nobody asked this question, but that is $1 million question where prices nowadays are put just to clickbait you in. Go ahead, sorry.
So to add on to that same point, right? So assuming that you want a room at 5,000 rupees and you see that the same property is available at say 4,500. From a customer standpoint, now I have moved to the OTA and now I see that again is 5,000. But in my mind, I now need a room at 4,500. That means not only has the property lost its direct booking, but also has lost it on that OTA. So this is the importance of rate parity.
Wonderful. Any thoughts from either of you?
So like what everybody mentioned, right? Trust plays a very key role in this entire game. It all depends on what's your objective. Are you looking for a long-term plan or a short-term gain, right? If I'm looking for a short-term perspective, I will increase my prices and as per the number of bookings that I've received from various portals, I'll change it. But what we follow as a practice is the same thing, same price all across the portals. And even if in our case, surprisingly, we have 75 to 80% is direct bookings and 20% is from the OTAs and channels, other partners, right? What happens, in certain cases, customers come back to us, hey, Pradeep, your price over there is 3,500 and you're charging 4,500 here. We ask them to book it over there. If there is a situation where we might have changed our pricing, and it happens in every revenue management team, right? We honestly tell them, why don't you book it over there, right? Customer is always right. And trust building exercise is a long-term game, and everybody should maintain that price parity is what I follow.
Which brings me to another interesting question. Flipkart is entering this space, right? And they are the kingpins of discounting, right? So are you guys mentally ready for, the pay nothing and stay at a hotel kind of a deal?
What was that deal all about?
I'm saying that, I don't know if you guys have read, but Flipkart is now entering into the travel space.
Okay.
And they are masters of discounting, right? I mean, the reason why you get up in the morning and open Facebook, Instagram and click on those links is because somebody is saying that the watch that you wanted for 80,000 is now available for 5,000. So when that happens to your hotels, are you ready for it?
We prefer not to be there.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so now that brings me to another important perspective, which is inventory. Now, and I can speak from personal experience. As many times I have met hotel owners, be a square centimeter of extra space, the hotel owner wants to call it a different room, right? Just because you bend out and from the left-hand side bottom corner of the window you could see the sea, now you should be charging $100 more for it, right? And all of us have faced this. My question is, as hotel operators, as salespeople, what is your advice when it comes to the inventory and the balance in the inventory that you have in a hotel? Go ahead.
I would like to take this.
Yeah, I want the sales guy to first answer.
See, what I prefer is being honest with what you're giving as a service, right?
Yeah.
The room size doesn't matter.
Yeah, but what happens when the owner says, but that is 10 centimeters more?
If it is 10 centimeter more, you have to give a 10 centimeter worth experience as well when you're charging extra.
Even if the customer can't figure it out?
Customer should figure it out, that's the problem.
See, that's important. Okay, go ahead.
So your honesty is more important, right? Though the size is very minimalistic difference. But what is that you're putting in extra efforts to charge
The guys
extra?
back there are not listening to you. Make them listen.
Yes. All of you can hear me? Yeah. So like I'm saying that, like, as a customer, you come to me and you don't see a major difference in the room size, right? But still you end up seeing that, like, why did I pay this 500 rupees extra? What is that for? And as a brand, if I'm able to justify, this is 500 rupees extra, you're paid for an extra service that I'm offering you, which is worth of 1,000 rupees or 1,500 rupees. As a customer, your loyalty for the brand will increase, right? It's just not the size of the room, it's the size of the experience that you're offering to the customer with a lot of honesty. And that is something which we have been following and it's working out very well for us. And as a group of hoteliers, all of us can implement the same policy of being honest with the clients because customers are very educated right now. Google is the first fundamental tool that can give them each and every information that they wanted. So before coming to you, they're already educated. So instead of running around the bushes, you be honest, right? This is the size of the room and this is the experience that you're getting, and honesty is the best policy in this industry.
Maybe Nikhil, you could answer this question. When it comes to view, and all of us get really agitated, the view should be able to get us something extra, right? Do city hotels have the potential of a view-based pricing? City hotels, more prominently, I would say, business-orientated hotels.
So, there's no easy answer to what you just
I know,
asked.
that's why I asked you.
But it's evolving, and let me give you an example. Because we have 24 brands, each brand is hard spec for the square footage the rooms should be. Over a period of time, we've simplified it. Have we asked in a lot of locations for city view to be at a higher price point? Yes. But I would go beyond that. For example, if you were to look at this hotel, which is almost 400 keys, right? I would go beyond the rooms and I would say, is this banquet hall enough for a hotel of this capacity? And I think it is under capacity. So that's where the AD&C, architecture, design, construction, guidance from a brand will come in and will tell you to course correct before you actually construct. And that's more important in the long term than just the city view or the non-city view, in my view.
Wonderful. So, Abhinash, this probably with your welcome heritage hotels, where your hotels are sometimes, at least more often than not, these are structures that have a certain. Does the aura or the design of the room allow you differential pricing, so to speak?
Yeah, so unlike business hotels, leisure experiential hotels have an advantage. There is no focus so much on size. Most hotels are large, rooms are large in any case. But even if they are not, customers go to these properties for the experience of going to that destination. The hotel, of course, adds to that process. So a palace experience or a fort experience or a Haveli experience are very different from a standard business hotel or even a leisure hotel. And at least we find that people are more than willing to pay a premium for that.
Okay.
So in fact, all our properties now, we are ensuring that their pricing is above, and we face hardly any resistance. I think he mentioned also, as long as you're able to give him that experiential edge, which he gets in your property, pricing is not an issue.
Sure. Wonderful. So from Simple Hotel's perspective, when it comes to designing a website, etc., how do you then work on the content part of it so that it aligns to the ability to upsell?
So our advice to hotels is always the same. Honesty is the best policy. What you have is what you sell, because the customers finally buy what it is. But here,
honesty is the best policy. All the marketing people here will kill you.
Just to add on to this, right? So we always look at room revenue separate. We look at F&B revenue separate. We look at spa revenue separate. But if you were to look at the total consumer spend, rather than trying to cheat the customer and give him, say, 10 centimeters more, if you were to upsell at each and every point, you are able to sell your F&B more. You are able to sell your spa more. You're able to even sell stuff like, transfers. And if you start looking at it in that way, that will show an increase in terms of total revenue, rather than just looking at room revenue.
Okay. Just a quick question to the people sitting here. How many of you think that the hotel website should, by default, offer you one or two more ancillary services when you're trying to make a booking? Just to raise your hands. How many things? Hotel website should allow for an ancillary services upsell when you're booking a room. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So why the rest of you, can anybody volunteer to say why should the hotel not try to sell an ancillary service on its website? I incidentally am on your side. I don't think that the hotel website should try and sell anything more than what the customer was initially trying to book. Anybody? Any thoughts from the panel? We heard your view. I want to hear a contrarian view.
See, we Indians are emotional buyers, right? And we don't buy a product, we buy an experience. So when a hotel website is giving an add-on experience of, for example, you're booking a room,
Realme and Vivo also think that they're selling an experience, huh?
it depends, it's subjective, right? So what if you're coming to a hotel, a richer hotel, right? What if we get to know that they're celebrating a birthday and we roll out a small cake or a 15-feet banner saying happy birthday to them, right? This is the memory that they carry for life. And when you are connected with your customers with a story or a memory, your return business from the same clients is multiplied by 10 folds, right?
Sure.
They become your advocates. So to answer your question, we are emotional buyers, and to satisfy the emotions of the clients, we just need to add that 2-3 experiences, which doesn't cost the brand much, but it will add a lot of value for the customers,
Okay.
and they have a reason to buy.
My view is very simple. I like to keep things simple. I have come to buy this, let me buy this and get out. So that's how I think. But again, I am not the kind of people that Pradeep is trying to get to. I don't have 50,000 bucks to stay for a night. Moving forward. So here comes this whole issue of, distribution architecture. And I think somebody earlier had spoken about cryptocurrency. Is the gentleman still here, or because of the lack of answer, they left? Okay, I guess. Vikram, it's your fault, huh? You didn't answer, so the guy left. Okay, so, the perspective that I have is that in my mind, there should be a single source of truth, which is, and therefore which comes back to, if there is a price point, then that is the price point that everybody gets. And that is what should be made available to everybody. Now, the big question that comes to mind is, does it make sense in today's day and time to have a price point which is different for different customers? And I say this with a lot of seriousness. Should you have a lower price point for your loyal customers? Should you have a lower price point based on geography? And I have had debates where I've lost my voice with salespeople, but again, I still live to tell the tale. So the point really is that, does it make sense to have geographical or personalized price points?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You need to have the bandwidth for it. And what Dev Datta said, you see, and Mr. Bakaya said this earlier, there's a Make My Trip and there's everybody else, right? Make My Trip is the prime example, which is easy to relate to. They have an MMT Black, and they have other programs where they are morphing or calling a closed user group by another name and discounting it further, right? And that's, while it's good business for brands and for hotels, they are eating into your pie. So what is stopping you from doing that? Nothing. And of course, your loyalty base is your loyalty base. We have 95 million members. Globally, our loyalty members have a closed user group that get discounted rates when they travel to our hotel. So can't agree more with what Dev Datta says.
Okay. So Abhinash, my question to you is slightly more twisted, and it'll keep getting twisted till we reach Simple Hotel. The point is that in today's day and time, where stuff in the bedroom comes out on the TV next morning, do you really think that there is anything called, or is there a sanctity to a closed user group pricing?
User?
Closed user group pricing, like an MMT Black or a Genius or, a secret rate, what have you.
So, the whole discussion here is veering towards OTA and similar groups, but that's really not what I want to address from my point of view. Geo-targeting of pricing is good only if you're able to get the final consumer. If you do geo-targeting of accounts, you'll soon see all the business shifting to that region.
True.
And that is to be avoided at all costs. For example, let's say you give a lower price in Chennai, for example, because you think that in Chennai to get a customer all the way to the north has a lower price, while from Punjab I can charge a higher price. In B2B marketing and distribution, you'll soon find that all your business is coming from Madras, because everybody is looking for the gentleman or the source in Chennai. However, closed user groups For me at least, revenue management is what I tell my people is public pricing. As long as people are not able to see in public channels that there are different prices, CUGs work. And
Okay.
I think every brand follows that practice. So loyalty members use that process.
True. This reminds me of a very funny incident. A friend of mine living in Bangladesh got in touch with me when I was in Thailand. He got a price from a Chinese agent into Thailand. So he said, Dev, can you get the rate reduced? I said, send me a confirmation number. The hotel cancelled his booking because he was not Chinese. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that, it is increasingly getting more and more difficult for you to isolate these prices. So now I come to the two leisure gentlemen. How does this work in your case when you have, or in some cases you are forced to have geo-specific pricing, Russia, CIS, Western Europe, whatever? How does this work for you? Do you have such prices?
Unfortunately,
In the spirit of honesty.
yes. Unfortunately, that's the wrong question right now because we haven't gone so far. But with your permission, I would like to twist a bit of a perspective on the revenue management and optimization a bit, right?
By all means.
So yeah, now the discussion is going towards OTAs and how are we optimizing the pricing and everything, right? Let's change our perspective a bit about selling as a whole, right? So we have a lot of hotel owners over here. A couple of them are directly involved in the entire sales process. A couple of them are giving it to the operators. In the entire game of revenue optimization or gaining the revenues, right? What we are missing out is who is bringing in the revenues to the business, right? Your sales team, right? Directly, there are two parts of it, direct and indirect sales. Directly, your revenue generation team is sales team who is going out in the market and getting the revenues for the company. But indirectly, each and every employee of the organization can also act like a sales guy, right? When you go to a hotel, you have some nice food over there, and the waiter serving food to you. Every customer ends up having a small bit of conversation with that guy, right? What if that person is absolutely happy with the way he is working in that particular hotel, right? He himself can bring in another source of revenues for the company. The overall point what I'm trying to put in over here is take care of your employees who are bringing in revenues. And when I say take care of your employees, it's not about their well-being and salaries or whatever it is. As an owner, we all have objective with us. For example, right now we are by 2 properties. We wanted to go by 10 properties in the next 10 years. So you have a vision. What if your team is not carrying the same vision? There is a difference between an employee working for 9 to 5, only chasing targets, and there is a difference between there's a other dimension of the same employee who is owning that vision, saying that, okay, my boss has got a vision like this, and I also want to be a part of that vision. So how do I explore different dimensions of the business? Trust me, if your sales guys, if your revenue generators are motivated, they'll open up 10 other unexplored windows which you're not even aware of as a business owner sitting in one place. So what I strongly believe is changing a small perspective towards overall revenue generation, focusing on B2E marketing, that is business to employee marketing is more important. Take care of your employees, get them on board with your vision. If they are not on board with your vision, they'll never be able to bring in the revenues that you're expecting. Your monthly or quarterly review meetings will end up saying that, oh, you promised 10 crores worth of revenues, where the hell are they? Right? So to avoid that kind of disappointments in the initial stages of your business itself, getting them on board with your vision is very important. If everybody is working for one single vision, revenue is something which is a byproduct. So
That's a very interesting perspective that you bring. Yeah. But right now you are at that stage where you can still control that. You ask Nikhil with 4,000 or 9,000 hotels, can he get this kind of employee advocacy working? Whatever hair is remaining on his head will fall down. Yeah. Moving forward. So your thoughts on this geo-specific pricing. And I guess many of you do this still, right? CIS market, US market, Spanish market, French market. Yeah, please. Uh-huh.
10 years back to Russians for 2,000 dirhams.
Correct.
Whereas when any other nationalities from uh, India or any other countries come, they used to charge 6,000
Correct,
dirhams.
correct.
Then I found out the Russians, they buy a magnum bottle of champagne ready to spend 65,000 dirhams. Whereas I will not spend that much,
The
65,000.
question is, if you were ready to buy that bottle of champagne, would you get it for 2,000? I doubt it. So it's,
From
it's
the- from their
again,
experience,
I hear your point. I'm not questioning that. But the point is, 10 years back, this availability of rates on every platform, every device in the world was not as prevalent as today. So effectively, you could go to ostrovok.ru, buy that room for 2,000, and then not buy that bottle of champagne.
It can. Yeah.
That's the point. Anyways, so go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think this question derives from the earlier question of pricing parity. You know, if we are very clear that every customer should pay the same price or somewhat the same price,
Okay.
then I think it's understood that I don't know about geo, pricing, different pricing for different geographies. People might do it, but maybe, I don't know, we don't do it. But yes, we do, like for example, we know that people coming from Europe to India, Karnataka is like say the third trip. They go to Rajasthan, they go to Kerala, and then they come to Karnataka. It's never the first trip. So we want to incentivize the British tour operator or the German tour operator to bring in business here, not by reducing the price that the final German guest pays. Rather, we reduce the B2B price to that particular agent, and we try to ensure that the price that any guest pays, irrespective of nationality coming in, remains somewhat the same. So we try to
So it's more like an incentive rather than a price benefit. Am I
correct, because
getting
we
it?
spoke about pricing parity, and pricing parity is across the board. I mean, we try to ensure that everybody coming in pays the same price, because again, we talked about brand reputation, and you don't want to be staying in a room to know that the next person paid 30% less than you. So that, if you're very strict on that, then it's a no-brainer that you don't have these kind of other things. Loyalty is an important thing, though. I think you need to make a guest who's come like 10 times feel a bit more special than a person who's coming for the first time. And there are ways to do that other than price. You could give them upgrades, and you could do
So it
those
could
kind
be
of things.
experiential rather than a price point.
You could do that. There is no right answer to that. There are
Okay.
different brands that do different things, but yeah, that's the thing.
So now to your point, or rather twisting it a little more for you, when it comes to a website where you can very specifically identify where the customer is from, does it make sense to have prices based on the IP address?
Okay, and I think we are divided in the panel here in terms of how we need to do our pricing in terms of IP, type of device that is used, and so on. You can go in multiple ways, right? I think coming back to the chart that you have, for every property, there is a unique set of your distribution mix. They are literally like taps. You have control in terms of how much you want to turn it on, how much you want to reduce it. But there's also a cost of using each tap. And there, your cheapest form of getting business is your direct website. It is not necessary that your direct website has to have the cheapest rate. But if you are able to, so our studies say that around every customer goes through around 37 different sites before they finally come and make a reservation, right? The booking is yours finally, but at what cost? Do you want to pay 15 to 30% for getting that same customer who can come to you at 5%? Or are you okay with it?
So now let me ask you an added-on question to it. A lot of us feel that the brand website typically ends up to be the cheapest source of business. And just to set fire to that whole discussion, let's assume that the hotel did not have a brand website, which meant the whole website setup, the marketing, the content, what have you, and then the ad spend, Google ad spend, SEO, SEM. If you take all these costs together, do they somehow still continue to be cheaper than, let's say, an OTA with a 18-20% commission? Have you ever analyzed that?
It will be in terms of total. So you have to look at it that when you're trying to drive business to your direct website, it is not just a one-time business that you're trying to drive.
Sure.
Okay, you're trying to get that customer to keep coming back. You're building that trust. You're trying to say that if you come to my website, I will ensure that you have the best stay with us. It is not necessary that you go to an OTA to make a reservation. It may or may not work out. But if you come directly to the website, this is what I can give you. I can also give you an additional 15% discount on F&B, for example.
Okay.
Or I can give you a one-way transfer if you were to book directly on the website. Now, these are things that can finally attract the customers, and they will always talk about it. It's not just that customer, but that customer will go and tell 7 or 8 other people that, you know, if you book directly, this is the advantage that you get. So these are a couple of things that we would do to drive direct business.
Wonderful. So the one thing that I really think that is going to change in this world here, you see that central part which is the CRS. I have a strong feeling that 5 years from now, that part is going to be changed into a new technology called blockchain. And that is coming. So, you know, I really miss that gentleman who was asking about how is cryptocurrency going to impact the hospitality space. At the end of the day, any reservation is a contract between the booker and the service provider saying that on this day, from this time to this time, this room is yours with all its goods and services. Eventually, that's going to turn to blockchain. Anyways, moving forward, I guess the one last question which comes to mind for everybody in this room, we all like to compare ourselves, right? Is my house bigger than yours? Is my car better than yours? Is my ref bar better than yours? So the question is, when it comes to benchmarking with your competition, more often than not, you end up making a compromise, so to speak, because there is hardly ever a true apple-to-apple comparison when it comes to hotels, right? And even if you might find that the rooms are pretty much the same, the F&B, the banqueting facilities, the location, these things become different. So my question therefore becomes, are we overemphasized on this whole benchmarking piece, or should that continue the way it is as we speak, as it is currently? Nikhil.
So Devdatta, just on your IP address, a lot of brands have put it into play, right? Apple users do see us different pricing, and that's already happening globally around the world. So geo-targeting by IP address by user is happening. So you're seeing that, right? I think firstly, defining your exact competitors is extremely important, and it should be done with logic and not with emotion. Not because the next hotel is next to me is my brother, uncle's, or so on and so forth. So that's extremely important that you do it with logic, you do it with precision. That's the first piece. Get the competition right to map. Now, there are reports that are available through STR and through other channels, which are actually the forward pace. So instead of evaluating the past and the past performance, it is essential today to look at what the future holds. Where is it that you are being priced or outpriced by your competition, and what course correction you need to take? So my view on that is look at the future reports and not the past reports, and of course, get the basics right, get the right competition base, and not just XYZ because of emotional reasons.
So I think benchmarking, your question was on benchmarking. Benchmarking must be done. It's the only way owners, professional managers can see if their strategies are working or not working. For example, let's say you begin in the beginning of launch of a new hotel, and the ADR achieved by that hotel and the occupancy, for example, is 50% of market leader, whoever you choose to be market leader. And the strategy of the company or the hotel owner is that I want to be at least 10% of that hotel. So over time, through the reports that was mentioned by Nikhil, you will be able to see your hotel's journey. Are you able to get that price premium because of improvements in product, service, marketing strategies, sales strategies, adding of facilities? Benchmarking gives the answer to you. If maybe in a 2-3 year period, property started by you is now reaching in your expected distance of the market leader. Then that means your strategies are working. And if there is no benchmarking, you will never know. Just growth in a market is not an answer. If everybody is growing, it's not good enough.
So what happens in markets like yours where, the hotels are pretty much very unique, so to speak? How do you end up benchmarking?
So, see, wherever the market leader is the sole player, or there are few players, then you have to compare across geographies.
Okay.
That's what we do at least.
Okay.
Because we don't use the same city. A customer on a leisure or a MICE, he has an option of destinations.
Sure.
And if my property is getting picked up from others, that is again my marketing, product, plan, strategies are functional. So you choose 4 or 5 properties of a similar type across cities, and that's how you make your concept.
Wonderful. So how about you guys? Pradeep.
See, for us, we do the benchmarking at the product level.
Okay.
Right? For us, revenues, what is the other property doing? Because every product is different. So when we do the benchmarking at the product level, you tend to focus a lot on your product first. And when you spend a lot of time on your product as a whole, enhancing the overall experience of the product, revenues are just a byproduct, right? So we always look at comparison between what is the other hotel providing over there.
So do you ever consider comparing yourself with a property outside of India? A similar product?
Yes, we
Okay.
did. So that's how our benchmarking works, right? Like, for example, if we are going a family getaway experience, right? So we do the benchmarking in terms of how the other retreats are doing, how other resorts are doing, what is the kind of an experience packaging that they're doing. So we have a lot of focus on product development first. Once the product is developed, revenue is just a byproduct. And we want to be that benchmark in the market, like, okay, go to Happy Retreats and look at them, how are they packaging it? And let's follow that. And we are ready to grow along with everybody in the industry. And if anybody wants some kind of a support in packaging also, we have an experienced division. We are voluntarily helping other hotels in designing their packages as a whole, which is G2G experience, we call it. So my partner, Shishir, sitting in the crowd, he named it gate-to-gate experience, right? From the time customer enters your gate till the time he exits the gate. Each and every touch point has got an experience, and you have all the kind of ownership with you to design that entire experience.
Wonderful.
Right? If your G2G experience is good, your customer, one customer who came and spent 2 nights with you, will be bringing in you 20 other customers because he becomes loyal to you as a family, right? And this G2G experience is something which every hotel, every brand should implement. And this gives a lot of solution for all your revenue generation problems, right? There'll be a time you will not be dependent on OTAs. OTAs definitely play a very key role. But yes, there is a lot of potential for you to bring in 80% of the direct revenues to the hotel. And these are the small little changes that you can implement in the system, which doesn't take much time, right? So there's my thought.
Okay, wonderful. Now let's move over to the next slide. And this brings to the fact about reputation management, customer feedback, what do people feel about your hotel and how that impacts pricing or your ability to generate revenues. Now, more often than not, and in my short professional career, I have often met owners who want to know why their hotel is not delivering X amount of average rate or Y amount of occupancy without correlating that with reviews and feedback. So my question, and this is more specifically directed towards the 2 leisure gentlemen, how do you deal with hotels where experience is such a core part of your being? And obviously the next purchase probably gets impacted because of the reviews, etc., right? How do you deal with this whole dynamic situation of reviews in the current world?
If I may answer that.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So we have a very simple policy in the organization, and which everybody in the organization follow this. Customer is always right, and you can never go wrong. There's a fundamental policy, right? When it comes to the reputation management, online reputation, see, it all depends on a psychological factor. There might be certain times where you have actually did something wrong. You didn't deliver what the customer was expecting, or you didn't communicate right with the customer. What is the mindset of the customer? What is the expectations? Because if you ask a client how you want to experience my property, right? He'll be the happiest customer on the planet. Oh, somebody is asking me, how am I willing to experience this place, right? Most of the places we fail in this area. And this generates a lot of communication gap, and it reflects in the online reputation. Again, the same principle, be honest. If you have done something wrong, customer is always right. Apologize publicly, it's fine. And the same customer will come back to you again, saying that at least these guys are honest. Let me give another chance. Rather than defending the same client, no, you wanted to come, that doesn't take anywhere. That's our policy.
Nikhil, in your case with a large number of hotels, etc., do you see correlation between RevPAR index and customer satisfaction indexes?
We do.
Okay.
That's the short answer.
And is there usually a lag or a lead between the two?
There is. I just want to call out that we use Medallia as a tool, and we work with all our franchisees to make sure that their reputation management and their reverts are up to speed. And I want to call out, since we are in Bangalore and plethora of hotels in Bangalore, right? Luxury, super luxury, and everyone looks at the TripAdvisor rankings. I think Renu, who's in the audience, he's the general manager of Ramada Encore. Encore is an upscale product. It's not an upscale, it's not luxury, it's not super luxury like the Shangri-La. And he's been #1 on TripAdvisor for months together. So kudos to him. And it's because of the push of reputation management and the tools that brands like us deliver to the hotels to make sure that they're on the top of the game and are not falling behind.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the short answer is that, of course, reviews matter and monitoring them matters. But just to answer that previous question also, benchmarking reviews, we try not to over-focus on benchmarking, because I think the ex-manager of the English Premier League team, Arsenal, said that we try not to cancel the other person out. We try not to play that way. We need to express ourselves. So we focus more on our experiences, making our experiences better. Our reviews are automatically better. We can be 30% higher than the highest, priced competition. So while these tools are there and they're great, and yeah, there's no escaping reviews. I mean, my mother was day before yesterday looking at a hotel to stay in Munnar, and she immediately went to Google, and she's 65 years old. So there's no age. I mean, it's very easy right now, so there's no escaping it. But I think over-focus on these things, I mean, we are hoteliers at the end of the day. We are giving experiences. We focus on those quality experiences. We focus on quality service without being overly too concerned about one bad review here or one bad review there. I think the reviews and the benchmarking and everything take care of them. We need to be aware of our competition, but not focus solely on that. We are a brand in ourselves. We have a USP that we deliver to our clients, which is not telling you that we give you something else other than another brand. We have our own brand, which we give you experiences which are unique to our own brand, not always looking at what the competition is not giving or what we can do better. So I think focusing on our own experiences, what we are built for, our vision that we were talking about, focusing extremely on that, while being aware of these things on the side is, I think, the way forward.
I think we are almost out of time. So I think all I wanted to wrap up was that, while we all focus on all our pricing and inventory management issues, I think it is extremely important to keep the reviews in line. People should get value for money, and I think that is the greatest driver for ongoing business. I think this is the question that I wanted to very specifically ask my friend from Simplotel. I guess he alluded to it earlier as well. Direct versus indirect. I am still of this opinion that we should provide a level playing field to everybody and let the customer choose. I am also of this opinion that if somebody comes to me directly, I should be willing to give him something additional, which is not price point based. And I personally am not a great fan of giving a better price point simply because somebody came direct. Loyalty, yes, I think there is every reason to reward a loyal customer, and that is that belongs to every organization to choose its strategy with. I am not the one to, advise on whether you should or should not do a certain thing. But I think in conclusion, what I really feel is that as long as we stick to the basics, don't make it too complicated for the customer, I think there is enough business for everybody. I think we should open some questions to the floor if we have. Do we still have a couple of minutes or? Okay. Any questions to the panel, please? Unless we have stunned you with our brilliance. I think everybody wants to go and
Sorry,
concentrate.
sorry, can I?
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
going back to your question about direct versus indirect. I think we have a lot of owners here. Can we take a poll?
Sure.
Direct bookings, please raise your hand.
No, like I
Well,
said,
The answer is in the question, yeah.
Yeah, so direct, obviously.
everybody wants it direct.
Everybody wants direct, but you can't get all of it direct. The fact is that the OTAs will outmarket you every time. So
Because please
independent
remember
owners-
that the main business model of the OTA is marketing. Your main business model is the bloody hotel that you built.
So individual owners will need to manage, they will not have the resources to manage the marketing might of the OTAs. Why does B2B do well, whether it's OTA or anybody else? Because of volumes.
In fact, this is a very interesting poll. Of all the owners here, how many of you have read your Make My Trip contract? How many of you have read your Make My Trip contract, which says that Make My Trip can bid on your hotel's name and you cannot do anything about it? And I'm guaranteeing you this is written on that contract. So that is another interesting thing to note. We all want direct business, but we are ready to give away our most important digital assets to somebody else.
So I have a take on this.
You read it?
Sorry?
Did you read it?
I didn't, honest.
Ah, see.
So overall, the strategy should be capture the direct from the indirect business coming in. OTAs are giving you indirect business, but the customers are coming to you. You have the customer with you for 24 hours, right? Give the best of the best experience to the customer who is coming from an indirect platform, and the same customer will come back to you directly for the next 10, 15 bookings. So the strategy is simple, capture the direct from the indirect.
Like I said, I am agnostic. I don't care where the customer came from. So anybody else, any questions? If not, we can, oh yes, please, sir.
See, whenever we look for enhancing the productivity of our brand website.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Yeah. Are you getting my voice?
Yes.
Yeah. So I said whenever we want to enhance the productivity of our brand website, the major challenge comes that, even if we have decreased the pricing, immediately we see that Make My Trip, as this is already there in the agreement, that, they will be putting some extra offers.
No, but when you signed, did you read that agreement? Brings me back to the question
we,
again.
We have no choice, because
Everybody has a choice. Everybody
OTA
has a choice. What you
OTA
need is what in Spanish is referred to cojones. So anyways, continue.
So see, anyway, we need to have, our presence in, different OTAs. And of course, the time agreement is being signed, looks like, they are very, very, I can say, dictator, these OTAs, where you don't have much of control. If you want to get featured, or you might shift it to some other, OTA platform. So that's the only choice you have. So immediately they will be putting a lot of offers, and you are going to get slashed by that. So I don't think any hotel owner, so many hotel owners are there, and so many GMs. Anyone's brand website will be able to produce even 5% of total business. So what do you suggest for
5% a lot of them can produce. The question is, can you beat a Make My Trip?
That's something which I seek answer from them.
So see, as I mentioned to you earlier, it's really how much time and effort you spend on your own sales and marketing efforts. And most individual owners and many hotels don't spend much on marketing. They spend a lot of money maybe on sales probably. And they pay a lot of money as commission to OTAs. But they don't spend much time on marketing, brand positioning, etc. So if you're able to do that over time, you will get more and more business on your website. But what you haven't answered, and while my esteemed gentleman friend here keeps mentioning what you can do in your own hotel, the fact is that customers want a choice. You want to go for a holiday first time, he may come and stay with you. Next time I want a choice. He can't get it from your website. You don't have an option. Everybody who goes and books online will look for options. The whole game of OTAs, or what are called meta search, is that you are giving the customer the ability to choose in a city or a destination on 3-4 various hotels, and within the brands that you prefer, you can get what you want. This is followed everywhere, whether it is in finance, in banking, insurance, travel, airline is the same story. You can't buck this trend. I mean, all of us try. We can try and get business to ourselves. We should get a sizable business to ourselves and not give all of it to OTAs. But the fact remains that disintermediation is on. It will happen more and more. People will want a choice, and the whole game really is to build a strong platform or a product marketing mix, which my friend from Evolve says he has. He has 3 hotels. He can do exactly what he wants. But those who have 30, 40, 50, they have no choice but to bank on metrics. And that's really how you run a business.
So as I go towards the last and final thought that I want you guys to be left with is the fact that, the RM landscape is getting more and more complex. Quality of resources and cost of talent is becoming a serious issue. And I know, and this is not something that we can resolve here. We have had an HR session to talk about what needs to be done and what have you. We have time for one last question. So is there anybody? Yes.
I don't have a...
Sorry, you missed it. He raised his hand before you. Timing is important.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to answer. You asked us that if we want a direct booking or an indirect booking, right? I just wanted to share my thoughts. I run a small group of hotels. Okay? Yes. So we have about close to 1,000 room inventories. Okay?
1,000 rooms.
Yeah. We have about 15 destinations. Now these are all small properties. But what I wanted to say was, we have a perishable commodity.
Yes.
Okay. The session is to look at your revenue optimization. So I went to manufacturing as well. If I don't make 100 T-shirts today, I can for sure get another hour extra and make 150 T-shirts.
I have a difference of opinion about that.
I'll finish it there. So if I don't sell my damn room today, and if I don't make 100%, I'm not making 110% tomorrow. So
True.
For me, it does not matter if it comes direct or indirect. So when I agree that, we cannot take the OTAs from the equation. Let it be any OTAs or TAs or whatever. The idea is how you split it and how you want to split it.
The most important fact you rightly mentioned, balance.
I have an answer for you. I have done a study of what is the cost of marketing your own website against the OTA. Many people will be surprised it's actually expensive.
I said that, nobody agreed.
You pay a Goai people, I'm mentioning a particular brand, okay, but the actual truth is, I am able to sell out of my whole inventory, about 35% of my bookings go on OTAs, online, the entire online. In that, I'm able to generate less than 3% from my online, from my own website. The remaining is all OTAs. Now, whatever offers I might throw, discount packages, extra freebies, whatever I throw, you have to understand there is a customer loyalty for these OTA platforms as well. No, see, you have a larger presence.
No, I'm taking your example only. If your T-shirts are not being able to sold in the shops in the street, and you're selling all through mass contracts to export orders, that fault is whose? It's us. We have not built a brand for my T-shirt. The day I build my brand for my own t-shirt, people will buy from shops. So your retail business has to regularly keep on going up. It's a trend, it won't happen overnight. You have two options. Either you give your entire inventory to market, very easy, no marketing to be done. Just have some salespeople, give contracts to travel companies and give it to OTAs. And
There
you'll
are
sell.
OTAs which come and tell you, I'll buy your entire inventory and sell it for whatever price I want to.
That can be done.
That is
I
also
actually-
available.
Yes. My point is, if I am having a lean period and I'm able to make money with it,
The point is, and it's a very interesting question. Huh? The question that you are asking has to deal with a longer term, not that just that lean period.
Your
And if
first
you look at
statement
it
is
over
correct.
a period
but
of
do
time,
you agree with me that it is expensive for you to market your own website?
it might be if the entire ecosystem is not fully balanced. It might end up to be. So, I'm not disputing what you're saying. For smaller organizations, it becomes difficult because technology becomes an important part of getting all of this right. So, I am not disputing what you're saying, but I'm also saying that there is a solution to it which could help you turn the direction of your business.
So what
or
is the solution?
The solution is
Partner with a larger brand like us, and we have soft brands to offer. On that note,
the effective answer to all of this is that at the end of the day, you must have a distribution strategy. When you partner with a larger brand, this comes as a part of the offer. Well, let me complete. And if you do not want to still do it, you want to operate as an independent hotel, then you must get those resources who are able to do that for you.
Want that cost again?
No. See, at
Won't-
the
won't
end of the
that be a cost
day,
again?
at the end of the day, I want to lose weight, I don't want to exercise, I don't want to
No, that
diet,
is
then
true,
nothing will
exactly.
happen, no?
But I have to make for my
I'm
karma.
trying this process of not doing anything and
have
losing
to-
weight. I haven't
No,
been
no, no, no.
successful either.
Exactly.
So next
the
next
problem
conference we'll speak on the
problem
same
is
topic.
that it is not against OTAs or it's not against TAs. The
No,
idea is
absolutely.
your share, how much you would willing to
So
sacrifice.
exactly my point.
We followed what the Expedia founder said. Pay me as a finder's fee or an introductory fee. The next time make your change the customer into your own customer.
That never happens.
That never happens.
That I agree with you, because you need to build that infrastructure to support that shift, which probably does not exist in this scenario.
So as a smaller hotel chain,
Yes.
I'm not, thanks for offering for your branch, but it's too expensive for me to get
See,
to your guidelines. So
he
that
will-
costs me money
we'd
again.
love to meet you.
Just a reminder, you're not going home today. He'll kidnap you on the way.
So my point is, if you're a smaller hotel and you're having one or two hotels, whatever, now the cost of building all these resources and infrastructures, they actually happen to be as expensive as paying these OTAs. Because
Yeah.
none of these OTAs, for example, make profits. They are spending too much money on marketing. It's not easy for them also. I'm not patronizing or I'm not vouching for
No,
these
no, no.
OTAs.
I
I'm
hear
just
your
saying,
point.
as hoteliers, we have no choice. I have to sell my rooms.
See, at
If I
every...
don't sell it today, what do I do?
So, sorry, go ahead. Okay. Yes. My question is, he could have sold the t-shirt today and tomorrow. He could have sold the rooms today and tomorrow. It is. And it is a complex question, which is why we are all discussing this today. Anyways, I think we've been given the warning that they'll kick us out now. So please.
Time's up.
Thank you so much for that very engaging session. I'd request the moderator and the panelists to please stay back while I invite on stage Mr. K. Ravi, EC member, SIHRA, to please come up and present a token of appreciation, a memento to our moderator and the panelists. I'd also request everybody in the hall to please stay back because we do have a lucky draw that's going to be conducted now. Ladies and gentlemen, while the mementos are being presented, I'd like to make a few important announcements. Please remember to wear your badges when you enter the dinner venue today. For security reasons and security purposes, nobody will be allowed to enter the dinner venue without their badges. So please do remember to carry your badges when you go in for the dinner today. And also, you could coordinate with your respective hotels for the shuttle services to the dinner venue. The delegate kit bags are at the registration center, and the delegates staying in Radisson Blu, 37 resorts and Bangalore Gateway will be given their delegate kits in their respective hotels. And if there are any delegates that need a drop to the airport, you are needed to give the details at the registration desk. We are just doing that. And ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the lucky draw. And for the lucky draw, may we please have on stage Mr. Abhinash from Tamra. We are now going to be calling out a winner for Tamra Coorg 2 nights on full board. Ladies and gentlemen, I repeat, this is one of the most luxurious gifts that we are giving away this evening. This is a 2 nights full board at Tamra Coorg, and we are just going to be declaring the winner for that. And the rules, like I said earlier, remain the same, which is we will be calling out a winner now, but if the person is not present in the hall, with that card will be dropped and we'll call the next winner.
So some FC hotels, Nirav, Akshay, Oza. Vijay Grand AC Family Restaurant from Tanuku, Andhra Pradesh. Not there. Manikandan, JKR Resort Spa, Rameshwaram. Oh. The Residency, Chennai. Mr. Balaji. Balaji?
Is Mr. Balaji here? No? Okay.
Pradeep Kumar, the executive member. Telangana State
Congratulations.
Hotels and Association.
May I also invite on stage Mr. Arun Raj from Accord Hotels to please come up for our next gift. If Mr. Arun Raj is not here, may I request anybody from the Accord Hotels team to please join us on stage. We're now going to be calling out the winner for the Carlton Kodaikanal for 2 nights on MAP. On MAP. I've called Arun Raj.
Okay, Ramoji Film City. Vijayashwari Devi. It's a thick card I could get fast in the hand. Very thick card.
Our next gift is from Happy Retreats, which is 2 nights and 3 days for 5 people at White Mist, Nandi Hills, Bangalore. So we'll be needing to withdraw 5 cards for this. And may I request Mr. Pradeep from
Rajneesh
Happy
Gupta.
Retreats to please join us on stage for this.
Rajneesh Gupta, Assistant General Manager, Tourism Finance Corporation. Got it.
Okay. So we'll have
Is there?
Shishir from Happy Retreats come up and
Mr.
distribute
Gupta?
this.
Oh, good.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now calling out the winner for Echo.
Oh, Mr. Michael Dominic, CGHR.
Thank you so much.